If the power goes out tonight, you've got less than 60 minutes before the first layer of your life starts to collapse. No phone, no lights, no running water, no heat. And if you think that sounds dramatic, ask the 4.5 million Texans who froze in the dark in 2021. Ask the families of the 246 people who died, most of them in their own homes. That's not a movie. That's FEMA data. And they were the lucky ones, because the next time this happens, it won't be regional. It'll be nationwide. According to the U.S. Energy Information Administration, America's grid suffers over 160 major outages a year, and it's getting worse. Aging transformers, cyber attacks, EMP threats, sabotage. It doesn't take much. In fact, one guy with a rifle knocked out a California substation in 2013 and nearly took down the power for Silicon Valley. One guy. You think your fridge is going to save you? Here's the truth no one's telling you. You don't have time to wait, to wonder, or to scroll for answers. When the grid fails, the countdown starts. And every minute you hesitate is a minute closer to your food rotting, your pipes freezing, your neighbors turning desperate, and your family looking at you for answers you don't have. So if the lights die right now, do you move like someone who's prepared? Or do you freeze and hope it comes back? Because hope isn't a plan. And when the power goes out, it's already too late to start preparing. Let's get into the checklist. Item number 7. Kill the noise. Fast. Let me tell you something that most Americans completely underestimate when the lights vanish. Noise. Not the boom of a transformer exploding down the street. Not the eerie silence of a dead fridge. I'm talking about your own mental noise, the endless pinging of habit loops, digital dependencies, and the way we're all trained to rely on real-time information 24/7. When the grid drops, the average person becomes a short-circuited machine, desperately flipping switches, tapping dead screens, opening smart thermostats like they're going to spring back to life. This is noise, and if you don't shut it down in the first 10 minutes, it'll paralyze you. Here's the real kicker. The Department of Homeland Security estimates that 83% of Americans would be functionally paralyzed within the first 24 hours of a sustained power outage. Why? Because we're addicted to feedback loops. Alexa doesn't answer. Panic. Google Maps won't load. You're suddenly blind. Most of us haven't experienced true mental stillness in years, and that stillness, that quiet, becomes the battleground. So here's your first command. Kill the noise. No pacing, no what-if spirals. You sit down, open the notebook you've stashed for this moment, and run your blackout checklist in writing, not in your head. Paper doesn't crash. It doesn't need to recharge. It becomes your brain's new hard drive. Write the time the outage started. Note how much daylight you've got left. Inventory your people, your assets, and your vulnerabilities. Because here's what happens if you don't. You drift. And drifting leads to delays. Delays lead to missed windows. And missed windows kill your food, your water, your heat, and eventually, your chances. During the 2021 Texas grid failure, over 4 million Americans found themselves spiraling without a plan, and hundreds died, not because they lacked supplies, but because they lacked mental order. Panic makes you stupid. Focus makes you dangerous. Want to stay sharp? Have pre-written action cards. One for food triage, one for water capture, one for security staging. Your brain is going to get foggy in a crisis. Prep the script ahead of time, because when your kids are asking questions you can't answer, and the dark is pressing in, the last thing you want is to be improvising from fear. Shut off the mental static. That's how you get ahead of the blackout before it buries you. Item number 6. Move your car before it's trapped. This is the one that always blindsides people, especially in tightly packed American suburbs and apartment complexes. Your vehicle isn't mobile if it's boxed in by panic. Within minutes of a major outage, garages with electric openers freeze shut, intersections clog with dead traffic lights, and gas stations, all of which rely on electric pumps, go offline. Your car becomes a 4,000-pound paperweight unless you act immediately. So here's what most people never consider. If the power goes out tonight, you need to treat your vehicle like an escape pod, because that's exactly what it becomes. In 2003, during the Northeast blackout, over 50 million people lost power across 8 states and Ontario. Streets gridlocked within 45 minutes, and because few thought to move their vehicles immediately, thousands were stranded, not due to lack of fuel but because the entire infrastructure around them collapsed. So what do? First, open your garage manually. Know where the override cord is, that red rope dangling from the ceiling rail, and practice disengaging it now, not in the dark when you're cold and stressed. Second, reposition your vehicle. If you live in a city, move it to the street or somewhere with a quick exit route. In rural areas, make sure you're not parked behind a gate that needs electric openers. Then, and this is critical, check your fuel level. According to AAA, 1 in 4 American drivers runs on less than a quarter tank regularly. That's suicidal in a blackout. If your tank is under half, top it off tonight. Every time you come home, you're not just storing gasoline. You're storing mobility, power, and generators on wheels. You can charge devices from your car. You can warm up your family inside it. And you can flee if the neighborhood starts to turn. Want another shock? During Hurricane Sandy, it wasn't storm damage that paralyzed movement. It was the fuel shortage afterward. People waited 6+ hours in line for gas, with fistfights and armed guards posted at the pumps. Your car is a mobile fortress, but only if you act early. Wait an hour too long and it's just dead metal. Park it smart. Fill it up. Know the roads. And don't hesitate to drive out if things get loud. Because mobility isn't a luxury when the lights are out. It's life insurance. Item number 5. Sweep for fire risks. Before you spark a second disaster. The moment the power dies, your home becomes a minefield of silent fire hazards. And nobody talks about this enough. We're so trained to fear the cold, the hunger, the dark. But you know what's more lethal in a blackout? Fire. According to the U.S. Fire Administration, house fires increase by 23% during widespread outages. Why? Because panicked people start lighting candles, overloading outlets with sketchy inverters, or using gas appliances without ventilation. That flicker in your living room might feel cozy until it takes your entire house with it. So here's your first move. Grab a flashlight and sweep your home room by room for fire risks. Blow out any open flames you forgot about. Incense, scented candles, even that birthday candle your kid lit for fun. Unplug appliances that were running when the power died. Space heaters, kill them. Toasters, unplug. Ovens, double check. Because when the surge comes back, and it will at some point, it doesn't trickle in gently. It slams in with a 240-volt punch that fries circuits, ignites wires, and has burned down more homes than any looter ever has. During California's rolling blackouts in 2020, over 400 house fires were directly linked to unstable power returns and reckless lighting methods. And don't even think about running that gas oven for heat. CO poisoning and fire risk in one deadly package. Here's what you should do instead. Stage safe lighting immediately. That means LED lanterns, solar flashlights, and battery-powered task lights. They're cheap, safe, and last for days. Every major prepper kit should include a headlamp per family member, because hands-free light means you don't have to juggle candles while hauling water or defending your home. Also, check smoke alarms. Do they have battery backup? If not, you're flying blind in the most dangerous hours of your life. Even better, stash a portable fire extinguisher in your main living space and kitchen. One $25 ABC extinguisher can smother electrical fires, cooking fires, and small flare-ups before they become infernos. And here's a pro tip. If you're using a propane heater indoors, crack a window. Just an inch. Not for fresh air. For your life. You're walking a tightrope. In the dark, one mistake becomes irreversible. You need light, not flame. You need power, not sparks. You need to move fast, not recklessly. Blackouts are the time to think like a firefighter, before you're calling one, and he doesn't show up. Item number 4. Lock in temperature, while you still can. Now, here's where the smart separate from the smug. Your home's temperature is a one-time asset, and the moment the grid fails, it starts bleeding out. People think, it's fine, the heat's trapped in, or it's summer, the cool air will stick around. Wrong. In reality, your indoor temperature starts sliding immediately, and unless you act within the first 15 minutes, you lose your one shot at thermal buffering. Let me break this down. According to the National Renewable Energy Laboratory, an uninsulated home can lose 50% of its internal temperature comfort within 2 hours of HVAC failure. That's not overnight. That's while you're still figuring out how to light a candle. So what do? First, trap the air. If it's winter, shut every door, curtain, and blind immediately. Roll up towels and jam them into door gaps. Create a bunker room. 1 or 2 small rooms where everyone sleeps, eats, and stays warm together. Use body heat as a resource. Huddle. Layer. Get under wool blankets now, not when the shivering starts. If it's summer and you're in the south or southwest, same rules reversed. Block sunlight now before it heats the home like an oven. Foil over windows, reflective emergency blankets on sun-facing walls, and fans positioned for convection airflow. All things you need in place before the internal temperature climbs past 80 degrees. In both extremes, you must think like you're on a submarine. You're not adjusting the weather, you're holding the line. And here's where America gets blindsided. We've been trained to trust our thermostats more than our instincts, but after the 2021 winter blackout in Texas, dozens of people died in homes that looked safe because they waited too long. Seniors especially suffer from impaired thermal regulation. If you've got older relatives at home, your 70-degree of comfort might be their 60-degree of emergency. And in the heat, children dehydrate fast. Core temp goes up, cognition drops, and you've got a medical crisis on your hands, without ambulances. So secure your airspace. It's not a luxury, it's life support. Every degree you save now is an hour you don't have to fight later. If the lights go out tonight, your house becomes a battlefield, and heat, or cool, is your most fragile weapon. Guard it like your life depends on it, because if this blackout lasts days, it just might. Item number 3. Freeze the clock on medications before they turn to poison. Now we're stepping into territory that isn't just inconvenient, it's lethal if you miss the window. Because here's what 90% of Americans don't realize. The moment your fridge dies, so do a wide range of life-saving medications, insulin, certain antibiotics, eye drops, hormones, even some liquid children's meds, all have strict temperature requirements. According to the FDA, many medications must be kept between 36 degrees and 46 degrees, and even short-term exposure to heat or freezing conditions can make them dangerously ineffective or flat-out toxic. And yet most American homes don't have a single backup method for keeping prescriptions viable in a blackout. That's not just poor planning, that's rolling the dice with people's lives. Let's take insulin, for example. Over 7 million Americans rely on insulin daily, and in a grid failure, their vials become a ticking time bomb. Once exposed to high temps for even 6 to 8 hours, insulin starts to degrade. You can't smell it, you can't see it, but inject it. And suddenly, blood sugar levels spiral, leading to seizures, coma, or death. Same story for thyroid meds, certain ADHD drugs, and biologics for conditions like Crohn's or rheumatoid arthritis. They don't just go bad, they go invisible killer on you. So what's your move? First, know what meds in your house need refrigeration, and mark them with red tape or bold stickers before the blackout hits. Keep them grouped in a small cooler inside your fridge for easy extraction. Second, when the power dies, transfer them immediately into an insulated cooler packed with ice packs, frozen water bottles, or dry ice if available. A styrofoam cooler and a few gel packs can buy you 24 to 48 extra hours of stability if you keep it sealed. Third, consider investing in a compact 12V medical-grade cooler. These plug into your car's outlet or a backup power source and can hold critical temps indefinitely if rotated smartly with solar or car charging. Still think this is an edge case? After Hurricane Katrina, pharmacists reported that 50% of returned medications had spoiled, many administered anyway by desperate patients. Post-disaster medical studies show that deaths spike not just from injury or exposure, but from complications due to failed prescriptions. This is personal. If your kid needs an EpiPen and it's heat damaged, that anaphylactic shock becomes your nightmare. If your mother's insulin is no longer potent, you're watching her health collapse by day 2. This isn't just about comfort. It's about biosurvival under modern dependencies. Bottom line, if you're not storing meds like they're gold, you've already lost them. And when the pharmacies are dark, the roads are blocked, and the hospitals are overwhelmed or offline, the only thing between survival and catastrophe is what you had prepped in a $40 cooler in your hallway. Fix it now, not after it's too late. Item number 2. Communicate or vanish in the chaos. So now you've got your water staged, your freezer locked, the food's cooking, but guess what happens when your neighbor's kid starts screaming for help? Or when a fire erupts 2 blocks down and you smell smoke but hear nothing? Silence. That's what the grid gives you. Total digital silence. And in the U.S., that silence becomes lethal faster than anyone wants to admit. According to the FCC, 95% of Americans depend on mobile phones for emergency alerts. But those towers, they only have 8 to 24 hours of backup power, depending on the region. In many cities, over-the-air emergency sirens have been decommissioned in favor of text alerts. If your phone dies, or the towers go down, you've got no 911, no Amber Alerts, no evacuation notices. You're just staring into the dark while danger moves closer. So here's the uncomfortable truth. The second the lights go out, you need to lock in your off-grid communication strategy. Forget hoping the cell signal holds. Assume it won't. You've got 1 hour to establish a new communications loop, or you're flying blind in a world full of blind people. First, crank radios. Yes, really. A basic NOAA-enabled hand crank radio, the kind that costs $30 at any hardware store, gives you access to emergency broadcasts that don't rely on cell towers. FEMA, local stations, even ham operators broadcast key info. During the 2017 California wildfires, these radios saved lives, warning evacuees before emergency services could even issue alerts. Solar options work too, but don't wait until dusk to find out your panel's cracked. Second, internal comms. Walkie-talkies, GMRS radios, or even prepaid burner phones charged and stashed in Faraday bags. Can you reach your brother across town? Your prep group across the county? Do you know what channel to meet on? If the answer's no, you're already behind. Make sure you have rally protocols written out and shared. If this blackout goes nationwide, texting won't be an option. You'll need to act like a 1940s radio man. Third, record everything. Have a physical notebook to log times, events, any transmissions you receive. When the world goes quiet, even a radio blip becomes intelligence. A citywide boil water notice, a road closure, armed movement downtown. In war zones, it's the informed who live longest. The ignorant just get caught in crossfire. Silence feels peaceful until it isn't. Until you realize your neighbor left 3 hours ago and never came back. Until you see a light flicker on the hill and wonder if it's help. Or something worse. Communication isn't tech. It's lifeline. Set it up before the noise of collapse drowns everything out. Item number 1. Harden your perimeter, because the calm is a lie. Here we are, the most crucial, the most uncomfortable, and the most misunderstood part of surviving a blackout in America. Defending your space when society begins to fracture. Now, I'm not talking about bunkering down with rifles on rooftops, yet. I'm talking about a strategic, psychological, and tactical lockdown of your property before it becomes everyone's resource depot. And here's what the media never shows you. In every major grid-down event, violence doesn't start at hour 48. It often starts in hour 6. Let me hit you with some facts. After the 1977 New York City blackout, over 1,600 stores were looted in a single night. More than 4,500 arrests were made, and the National Guard had to deploy. Why? Because darkness, desperation, free for all. And that was just one city, and only 25 hours. Imagine Houston, Los Angeles, Chicago, with no power for 3 days. Now multiply that by a nationwide failure. So what's your move? First, barrier thinking. Your home needs layers, not just a locked door. Start with light discipline. No lanterns near windows. No glowing smartphones at night. Use blackout curtains or hang thick blankets. If they can see you have power, hunting, or food, you become a target. Install motion sensor solar lights outside now. Not because you want to be seen, but because you want to see them. Second, sound discipline. No loud generators unless you're confident in your isolation. No shouting across the yard. No Bluetooth speakers. People are drawn to noise when they're desperate. Keep things quiet, controlled, alert. Third, tools. Let's be blunt. The police will not show up. Their radios will be jammed. Their vehicles may be dead. In Ferguson, during the riots, 911 calls were ignored for hours. You are the first responder now. That means bear spray, pepper gel, and yes, if you're trained and legal, firearms, stored safely but accessible. Your house needs a plan of defense, not just a "we'll deal with it if it happens" shrug. Last piece, team up. Connect with neighbors before the street goes black. Share protocols, run drills, have rotating watches. In every U.S. disaster where communities organized early, they endured. Those who hesitated became headlines. You can't defend alone forever, but you can start the defense now. Not with fear, but with intent. Because if the lights go out tonight and your house still looks warm, smells like food, or glows in the dark, you've got a bullseye on your back. Harden your perimeter before someone else tests it for you. In the dark, it's not paranoia, it's strategy.